Most NAS devices are built for people who already know what a NAS is. You need to understand storage pools, RAID levels, Docker and containers, network settings, and sometimes even command line tools. If you've ever looked at a Synology unit, Unraid, or a true NAS server and thought, man, this is way above my level, then this device might be exactly what you're looking for. The LinkStation E1 isn't trying to be the most powerful NAS on the planet, it's trying to be one of the easiest. After spending the last week or so playing with this device, I found that it does some things surprisingly well, and there's still a few things that need some work. Quick transparency here, Link Plus sent me this E1 for review, but they did not control this video at all. All the opinions and the testing on this unit and everything you hear in this video are all my own. The E1 is a compact 4-bay NAS unit consisting of two 3.5-inch drive bays and two NVMe slots. It runs Link OS, which is their own proprietary operating system. It includes a 2.5 gig Ethernet connection, Wi-Fi, built-in applications for photos, music, videos, and documents, along with a handful of AI features. Unlike the LinkStation N1 and N2, this does not run Unraid. This is built around the Link OS operating system, which is designed to be much simpler and easier to use for someone that just wants a network-attached storage without having the complicated setup. One thing to note right away is that it does not have Docker support yet, but Link Plus told me that in the third quarter of this year, they'll be releasing a new software update, and that will have Docker support. And when that happens, that'll make this unit a lot more desirable for people that want something just beyond basic storage. Just keep in mind that this is still an ARM-based system with only 4 gigs of memory, so don't expect this to be some powerhouse. Installing the drives is pretty straightforward. For my testing, I used a couple of old drives that I had laying around, and then later on, I threw in a Samsung SSD. After installing the drives, I powered the unit on, connected to it using their app, which you can see here. This is the desktop version. Then I went in and set up the drives for the system. The process wasn't overly difficult, but it wasn't completely automatic either. Since these were used drives, I made sure to format them first, and then I created a storage pool. LinkOS does support JOBD, or just a bunch of disks, so one disk at a time. It also supports RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, and RAID 10. Not all these options are available because it depends on how many drives you have in the system. I only had 2, so my options were limited. So in my testing, I focused pretty much on RAID 1, and then I went back and did single disk configuration. And we'll talk about why in a moment. But for most home users, I think setting it up for RAID 1 is probably your best bet, as this creates a mirrored image. This allows you to have some basic redundancy, so if a drive fails, you still have your data. Just remember, RAID is not a backup, and I know everybody tells you this, but this is going to protect you from one failed drive. It doesn't protect you from accidentally deleting files or malware or somebody stealing the unit, so make sure you have a good backup system. And that's one of the things that I think this device can really shine as just a backup unit for stuff around your home. Overall, I think this is pretty easy to set up. If you know anything about RAID systems, then it's going to be pretty easy for you. If you don't, then it can be a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Daunting, I guess. Not difficult, just you may have to look up what RAID 0, RAID 1 is, that kind of stuff. But compared to building your own NAS server, this is way easier. Once I had the storage space completed, all set up, then I started copying files over to it. And the main interface, let me show you that here. There's 2 different interfaces to this unit. This is what the app version looks like if I switch over to the desktop version. You'll see in the desktop version here that it's just a nice blank page. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Synology interface. In the top left corner, you'll find a series of dots. Click on that, and you'll find all the applications listed there. Under My Space, this is your drives and your storage locations that you have set up. You can see here I've got 1 single terabyte drive and an SSD. If we go into the 3.5-inch spinny drive, you'll see some files listed here. To copy files in, you simply just drag them from your machine, drop them in there, and they start uploading. In the top right, you've got these arrows here. It shows you the process. You can also connect through Samba, so you can set up an SMB window share and get in that way. And that allows you to use it just like a normal window share. I tested it out both ways. Both seem to work. The SMB version seemed to be a little bit faster copying files. So if you've got large files you want to copy over, that would be my method of choice. Speaking of that, both machines, the E1 and my desktop here, both support 2.5 gig Ethernet. And I did connect them both to that and copied files. The results I had were kind of mixed in my opinion. With the 2 older drives that I had in there, the spinny drives, they were set up as a RAID 1 mirror. And with that, I was getting about an average of 50 megabytes per second. Not blazing speeds by any means. Now, mind you, these drives that I have in there are at least 10 years old, so they're not high-performing drives by any means. Reading the files back from that mirror, they seemed pretty good. It was coming back at 100 megabytes per second. And then when I switched over to a single drive, removing the mirror from the system, then write speeds did jump up to about 100 megabytes per second. So there is some overhead and some bottlenecking within the RAID 1 mirror. And like I said earlier, I also tested it out with an older Samsung SSD drive, which was a 850 EVO, I believe. And with that one in there, it averaged out around 145 megabytes per second. This unit does support NVMe drives, so if I had those installed, I would expect much better performance. Although I wasn't able to test that because I don't have any extra ones laying around. I thought I did. I threw a drive in there. It didn't show up at all. Later on, I went back in, checked it out, trying to see what was going on, found out that it was an M2 SATA drive and not an NVMe drive, which is what I thought it was. Because I didn't have an NVMe drive at the time of testing, that is something I would like to go back and investigate later on. One thing I thought was kind of nice is that in this MySpace, it just dumps all the files there. That's where you're putting all your files at. But if you go back to the app page here, you'll see that it does sort everything out by images, videos, music, and documents. So if I go into one of these, you'll see that the images are all sorted out individually. Let me open up videos, and we'll do music too. During my testing, I copied over movies, music, photos, documents, just to see how everything worked. And it worked pretty well. There is built-in applications that allow you to play the video files, listen to the music, look at images. Nothing complicated. You find the file you want, you double-click on it, it opens up the application, you hit play, it plays. Same thing with the images. You find one you want, double-click it, opens right up. These windows are expandable, so you can resize them to whatever fits your needs. On this unit, I was able to play videos, listen to music, browse photos, and open documents, all without any problems at all. I even tried playing 2 video files at the same time, both multiple gig files, and they played seamlessly without any hiccups at all. I also opened up a couple documents and some music as well, just to really tax the system. And really, the E1 handled it surprisingly well. I checked the CPU usage and the memory, and both of them were around 30%, so it wasn't really taxing the system hardly at all. For a pretty small unit with only 4 gigs of RAM, I was actually kind of impressed. The built-in video player isn't meant to replace Plex or Jellyfin or something like that. You're not going to get any kind of metadata with it. It's just going to play the video files. This unit also has some AI-powered features built into it. The photo app can generate smart albums, and you can organize your library using the AI system. One thing to note is that these features do require you to have an open AI API key. The AI features seem fairly basic, which I think fit the unit fairly well. It's not like you're trying to go out and create this huge AI model for your home. It's just to handle the features that the unit has. But I could definitely see this being an area for improvement over time. Another feature that I thought was surprisingly good was the remote access. I didn't really expect this unit to have any kind of remote access at all, but it does. So instead of having to configure some VPN back into your home or any of that advanced stuff, LinkOS has the ability to generate a unique ID. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It is under link access. You enable it, you'll get a unique code. You can always come back here and click view access ID to get that code later on. Obviously, I'm not going to show you that. Once that code's generated, you go away from your home, open your app on your phone, put in that unique ID, and it goes right in. No VPNs, no complicated reverse proxies, no nothing. It just works. When I tested it from my home, the connection came up quickly, and I was able to browse the files and didn't have any issues at all. For someone who doesn't want to learn about networking and all these advanced features, that remote access feature is kind of nice. I also tested this unit as a backup destination, which I think this unit shines as. You can manually copy stuff over there, videos, documents, photos, whatever you want. Or if your backup software has an SMB access feature, then you can just set it up and send it right to the unit. When I tested it out with my Veeam software, it worked great. On that note, it does have an external USB feature available. And when I connect an external drive to it, it appeared pretty much instantly. I was kind of hoping for an advanced feature that if you plugged in an external drive, it would recognize that as a backup device and it would copy over the files, something like that. It didn't do that. It just showed up as additional storage, which, if you know that going in, it's not a bad thing. It would be nice if this unit had some backup software in it so you could set that up. Maybe in a future update it will. Another thing I tested out was power consumption. And that was fairly impressive. With the unit powered off and plugged in, it was using about 1 watt, so basically nothing. With it turned on and at idle, it was roughly at 11 watts, and when I was copying files to it, pushing kind of large stuff around on it, it was using 15 watts. Still very respectable. Streaming video was about 12 watts, so basically just over idle. If you have more efficient drives than I have, then I'm assuming the power use would be even lower, but overall, it seemed like a very efficient little system. Another thing to note is the noise levels on this unit. At full fan speed and with the device sitting back there on the shelf, I could hear it, but it wasn't distracting at all. Now, if it's sitting on the desk right next to me, it'd be more like white noise or something. You can hear the fan, but it's not going to be overpowering and annoying at all. The biggest concern I had was the drive temperature. When I first plugged this in, I had it sitting on top of my server rack, and there it got pretty hot. It got up to 63 degrees Celsius or like 145, 146 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot for a hard drive. So I went into the system, changed it to auto. That brought the temperatures down to about 58 degrees Celsius. That was still kind of hot for my liking, so I went in and put the fans to full, and that dropped it down to 55 degrees Celsius, which is better, but still not in my comfort zone. Got my little digital infrared temperature sensor out, scanned on top of the server rack. There, it was at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and obviously pulling in 80-degree air to cool it. So I moved it down to the floor, and it was a lot better. Personally, the default silent fan profile, I would immediately change that to something else because I don't think it's going to do its job and keep the unit cool. I'd rather hear a little bit of noise than to basically cook the hard drives. Hopefully in the future, Link Plus can release an update and make this fan curve a little bit better because right now by default, it's not good. Another thing I tested is what happens when a power failure happens. Yanked the cord out of it, waited a few minutes, plugged it back in, and when I powered it back on, an amber light came on, which appeared to me to be like a sleep state. Hit the power button, it booted up, everything seemed to be fine, no corruption, no issues at all, so that's good. It would be nice though if on a power failure, the unit just powered back up. This unit does have the ability to hook up a UPS to it, so it can monitor that, and I would definitely recommend that you do that if you're going to get one of these. There were a few areas that I didn't have enough time to test with, and namely, that is multi-user access and permissions. So I can't really comment on how flexible the system is there. Also, I wasn't able to test the NVMe drive setup. I thought it was only fair that I told you exactly what I tested and what I didn't. With that being said, is the LinkStation E1 a replacement for Unraid? The answer is no. And I don't really think it's trying to be. Unraid is built around flexibility. You choose your hardware, you run Docker containers, you set up virtual machines, you can mix and match drives, and you can customize pretty much everything. The E1 is built around simplicity. You install the drives, you create your storage pool, and you start copying files over. It's got less flexibility, but there's also a much lower learning curve. After spending some time with the LinkStation E1, I think it fills a very different role than something like Unraid. If you're an experienced Homelab user and you're looking for maximum flexibility, this is not your device. But if you simply want a personal cloud for photos, documents, backups, media, without spending all kinds of time learning how to build the thing and how to set everything up, then the E1 might just be your device. It's compact, it uses very little power, and the remote access worked surprisingly well. The built-in apps were easy to use, and Link Plus appears to be committed to continuing development with planned future updates like Docker support that are coming later this year. There are some areas that I'd like to see improved, especially with the drive temperatures. That's my biggest complaint. Some backup options would be nice, and maybe some more AI features. But for someone buying their first NAS unit, I think this device is something that is approachable and people won't be overly intimidated by it. So what would you rather have? Would you rather have something simple like this E1, or would you rather trade that simplicity for the flexibility of something like Unraid? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.